So we're in a very difficult period, and I'm sure everybody knows about the news, the latest news.
Ken.
Ken.
Ben. This morning.
Ken. And one of them was a reserve soldier, 7 children, 49 years old. And in one of my other shiurim, so one of the Balabatim said, as bad as it is now, you can't compare it to what happened in the Shoah. 1/3 of the whole nation, 6 million people. Okay, anyway, it's a time that you have to describe that we're undergoing difficult dinim. In this time, difficult dinim. And one of the major approaches to handle this is what we call hamtokas hadin, to sweeten the din. We have to do everything that we can do to sweeten the din. Now you have to have din in the world. You have to have din in the world. The world was created with din. Bereshis bara Elohim es hashamayim es haaretz. Elohim is midas hadin. So without the midas hadin, the world cannot operate. It cannot function. You have to have the laws of nature work with midas hadin. So we must have din in the world. However, Hashem also realized when He created the world that the world cannot function by din alone. Because if you function by din alone, the slightest mistake means that the whole system collapses. Because everything works in a certain system, everything is coordinated, everything is figured out to the last detail, and everything works the way it's supposed to, and it did. What happens in a machine? In a machine, one little thing goes out, the whole machine, it doesn't work because that little screw, whatever it was, is important for the entire thing to work together. So when you have the midah of din, and that's the only thing that is operating, the world cannot exist. Hashem realized that at the very beginning. And therefore, He was mosif at the creation, the midah of rachamim. So you have to have rachamim, which means that there is room for flexibility. There's room for having the din, but having the din sweetened, having the din less, I would say, powerful, not as strong as it was before. So there's room for making mistakes, there's room for corrections, there's room for being more lenient. That's very, very important. Now, one of the things that Hashem told us through the Torah says, Ashlosha dvar ha'olam omeid, right? Shimon HaTzadik, ala Torah, v'al avoda, v'al gemilas hasadah. So Torah was actually created before the world. The Gemara says in Maseches Nedarim that there were 7 things which were created before the world was created. 7 things. The first one is Torah. When it says Torah, it doesn't mean the Chamisha Chumshei Torah and the parchment and the Sefer Torah that we have. Torah means that there is this spiritual content which happens to be a method of where Hashem transfers to the world His ideas. He wants these things to happen this way, this is the way things should be performed, and so on and so forth. Concepts and directions. That is the Torah, giving us the inner understanding of how things operate and what Hashem really wants. So that is what the Torah is. The word means Torah means to teach. A moreh is a teacher. Comes from the same word as Torah. Moreh is a teacher. Hashem is teaching us of how He wants the world to function. So that was created before the world. Okay, so that's very important, the learning of Torah. But the Gemara says, as the Mishnah says, the world is held up by 3 legs. Torah, Avoda, and Gemilas Hasadim. Gemilas Hasadim we understand very well. We must have a tremendous amount of chesed that everybody does for everybody else. And when it says Gemilas Hasadim, it meant true Gemilas Hasadim. Now, what I mean true Gemilas Hasadim is very simple. People, unfortunately, because of the terrible culture of the entire world, always have their self-interest in mind. You do something for somebody, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, what am I going to gain from it? He's going to give me something back. I have some personal interest. Why am I doing him this favor? Why am I helping him out? There's going to be something good for me in it also. That kind of Gemilas Chasadim doesn't keep the world up. Gemilas Chasadim that keeps the world up is like Avraham Avinu. He wasn't expecting anything back from anybody. Just do chesed because it has to be done. There's a need for some kindness to be performed. That's what we have to do, regardless of what happens afterwards. I'm not interested in what's going to come to me from it. That doesn't keep the world up. That's destructive in a sense. Because it's really not chesed, it's really doing something for oneself. Chesed means to be kind, to somebody else, for somebody else, and that's it. No other calculations. All right, but we're not interested that's not our area. Our area is the second one. Torah we discussed, and Avoda is the second one. That's what we're talking about. What is Avoda? Avoda is, translated literally, service to Hashem, work, service to Hashem. What is that? What was that? Well, in the Beis HaMikdash time, it was karbanos. Right? We say every single day in Shemona Esrei, we're asking for the avoda to come back to the Beis HaMikdash. What is that? The karbanos. But in the karbanos, there was also added things. There was also prayer. And today we don't have the karbanos, so all we have is the prayer instead. So our prayer is supposed to be instead of the karbanos. So imagine when you bring a carbon to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it has to be taken care of, it had to be pure, it had to be shechted. A lot of work went into the karbanos. So a lot of work has to go into our tefillas, which are the substitute also. I am very, very, very upset, but I can't do much about it because I'm only a simple person. I'm not Mashiach. I see the kind of tefillah that goes on in our Batei Knesset. Baruch Hashem, we have many, many shuls. And I'm blessed that right next door to me, a new shul opened up. The people who lived in this house beforehand were very simple people, religious people, very, very pashut, simple people, nice people. But no comparison here. Kedusha, Beis Knesset, Sifrei Torah. Torah, what a wonderful thing to have right next to it. Couldn't believe it. I'll tell you something very interesting. I lived in Crown Heights in America for my whole life. I was born in Crown Heights. That is the center of Chabad in the world.
Eastern Parkway?
770 Eastern Parkway. That is 5-10 minutes walk from my house where I lived in Crown Heights. I was born there. I saw the Lubavitcher Rebbe thousands of times. Thousands. I passed him in the street. He would pass me. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos. I wasn't a Lubavitcher Chassid. I was brought up in Litvish yeshivas, the Lithuanian-style yeshivas, and I went to Litvish yeshivas from kindergarten on. Then when I went to high school and to Yeshiva Gedolah, so my Yeshiva Gedolah happened to be, after I graduated high school, Yeshiva High School, of course, happened to be in Crown Heights too. And I think it is very convenient for me. Why do I have to go traveling all over looking for a yeshiva? I have a yeshiva here, right next to my house. It's in Crown Heights. I'll go to that yeshiva. I went there for just convenient reasons. I didn't know who the Rosh Yeshiva was. I know the yeshiva. I want to learn Torah. I'll learn in that yeshiva. I have to go all over traveling looking for a yeshiva. I have to go to Lakewood. I have to go to Panovich. Right next door to my house, I have a yeshiva. So I'll go to that yeshiva. I went to that yeshiva. He accepted me. It happened to be, it was very interesting. Nothing is stopped. my Rosh Yeshiva knew the Lubavitcher Rebbe very well. They were both always asked to sit at the dais of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. Rabbi Menachem Mendel, Olav Shalom, and my Rosh Yeshiva knew each other quite well. My Rosh Yeshiva, in the beginning, when he came to America from Europe, was a Maggid Shir in Lubavitch. Okay, anyway, so I went into that yeshiva, and because I was in that yeshiva, I became close with my Rosh Yeshiva, and I had no need to go to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I wasn't a Lubavitcher Chassid, a regular religious family. So I went to that yeshiva, and as I said, I saw the Lubavitcher Rebbe thousands of times. I went occasionally to a Farbrengen when they had on Rosh Chodesh or Shabbos. I would go and stand there with everybody else, and they were singing, I have a L'chaim, and I was standing in the back, and the Rebbe Sheb would lift up his car and say L'chaim. Maybe he was looking at me once. Could be also I got a L'chaim for him. I don't know. But that was it. Then I came to Eretz Yisrael, because my Rosh Yeshiva in America wanted to come to Eretz Yisrael from Europe after the World War II. He wanted to come directly to Eretz Yisrael. But they told him maybe he should stop off in America for a while. Well, that stop off was for me, so I should be able to meet him. So he was, I think, for 20 years in America, and then he decided, I have enough of America. I'm going to Eretz Yisrael, and he came to Yerushalayim, and the yeshiva is down here at the bottom of the block. Yeshiva's Netzach Yisrael. He opened up that yeshiva in 1971. That's when I came here. In 1970, I came to Eretz Yisrael in 1971 with him. And the yeshiva is there since then. Then one day, somebody came into my house, here, another Rosh Yeshiva, and he started talking to me about the Lubavitcher Rebbe. As if, and he started to explain to me who the Lubavitcher Rebbe is, the godless of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And he was a Rosh Yeshiva who knew more about him than I did. And I'm listening to him, and I said to him, I can't believe it. Such a person, one of the Gedolei Hador, I had him 5 minutes from my house. I never once went in to get a bracha. Not one time did I go in to get a bracha. I used to see him in the street. Good Shabbos. I got maybe a l'chaim, I got it if I brain from the distance, maybe I got that. Never once go in to get a bracha. Ask a eitzah, something, never. I felt so bad after hearing who this person was, and what he accomplished in the world, and you see what's going on all over the world today. It's all because of him. I felt terrible. I felt mamish terrible. I didn't know what to do. What can I do? He was nifter, or it wasn't nifter. He wasn't. No, he was still alive. I was here already. He was still in America. Then one of my nephews got married. I had a sister living in New York, and her oldest son got married, my nephew, and she wanted him to come to the chasana. So I said, okay, I'll come back for the chasana. That Shabbos, when I came back for the chasana, for the aufruf, the Rebbe was nifter. That Shabbos he was nifter, and I had the zchus at least to be at his levaya. I was at his levaya that Sunday. That Sunday it was the levaya of the Lubavitcher Rebbe when I came back. Well, it wasn't sad. It's not the same as getting a bracha. Going to his levaya wasn't getting the bracha. But I was there. Baruch Hashem, I had the zchus. I felt a little bit better. At least I had the zchus to go to his levaya. And then, okay, the chasna was over. I came back to Eretz Yisrael, and I started singing shurim down below there in the yeshiva there. And I became over there the Gabbai, my Rosh Yeshiva's right-hand man. Very good, fine. Then Rabbi Goldberg opened up on King George. And he sees me one day, and he says, Rabbi Weinberg, would you like to say a shir by us? I said, I can't believe it. This is another matana that Hashem is giving me to make me feel better, that I didn't have the Lubavitcher Rebbe, I didn't go in. Another opportunity. So I said, of course I'll say shir. What we're going to say shir? And I said, we'll say shir the Baal Shem Tov. This is that's Lubavitch, the Baal Shem Tov. Right? Excellent. We started 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I remember how long. We started saying over shir, and then all of a sudden he tells me he's moving in next door to me. Could you believe it? This is a mamish. I think the Midrash Rechavia is Bashamayim. He's trying to make me feel good. He's trying to compensate me for all the time that I saw him in crowd. I never went into him. At least I'm closer to him now. Right next. How could you be closer than this? Right next door. It's
And the quit.
All right. So that's the history. You heard that. But that's very, very interesting. But it's still no comparison as to going into the person when it's alive. No comparison. Nothing can replace that. All right. But I didn't know. I was the Einus. I didn't have a need for it at that time. I had my Rosh Hashiva and I was close to it at that time of my life. But now I'm close to the Rebbe in this way. Okay, fine. But anyway, so we're learning the Torah of Chabad, which is the Baal Shem Tov, obviously. And one of the most important things that the Baal Shem Tov talks about is this inyan, that we have to do everything we can do to mamtik the din. And our tefillas, our prayers, have that ability to sweeten the din in the world. And there's so much din that's going on in the world. As I said, we just over Shabbos, 10 soldiers left the world, tzaddikim. And last week, this Shabbos, I was talking to somebody in shul. He went to Menachem Avel, one of the soldiers who was nifter from in the old city. In the old city, that's where he came from, the old city. Because he can't believe what a Baal Chesed he was. What a tzaddik and a Baal Chesed he was. So I'm trying to make him feel good. And I said to him, you know something? As much as we miss him, it seems if Hashem took him, Hashem needs him up there more than we need him down over here. He can be mamtik the dinim up there in a greater way than we can do it here. So that made him feel better. And then he told me, he says, Rabbi Akiva, no, he didn't say that, but somebody else told me that. Rabbi Akiva lost 24,000 Talmidim in a short period of time during Sfiras HaOmer. Imagine what that means. A person who started from nothing, an Aris, and he worked hard, and he was away from his wife. 24,000 Talmidim that he brought up, and he taught them, and he put his life into them, and they all died in a few months. A couple of months from Pesach till Shavuos. How much time is it? 49 days. Imagine what that does to a person. All of his Talmidim, all the work that he put into them, and they're all gone. What happened to Rabbi Akiva? Do you see that he became weaker? That he went into depression? Did he lose his mind? No. Rabbi Akiva remained Rabbi Akiva. You have to be strong. You have to go on. Hashem knows what he's doing. Better than we know. Much better than we know. And therefore, we have to understand also what we're going through now is a very, very difficult period. Nothing compared to the Holocaust. No comparison at all. But still very difficult. And Hashem knows what he's doing. But we have to do our share to try to be mamtik the din. To sweeten the din. There's a lot of din going on. We have to sweeten that. We can do that through the davening. The davening will help us to sweeten the din. Now I want you to take a look at the page that I gave you. The Baal Shem Tov says that in our davening, almost in every word, I'll read you the words of the Baal Shem Tov. You have it in here also on the page. We'll see it inside. But the words of the Baal Shem Tov are, there are three things which are necessary in every word. We have to have this kavanah. Now, what I hope you, when I come into shir and I tell you something, I want to ask you one thing. Whether you're going to do it all the time or not do it all the time, I don't know. But at least try. At least try at the beginning of the Shemona Esrei to have this in mind. What is that? I'll tell you what he says. Baal Shem Tov says, in every word, there are three things that we have to have in mind all the time. Every word. Let me just get the word here, 1 minute. Yes. Every word. They are three things. Hachnoah, Havdalah, V'hamtak. We have to have three things in mind, and this you have to have in mind at least at the beginning of your davening. What are they? Havdalah, Hachna, Havdalah, and Hamtaka. What does that all mean? Hachna means, of course, humility. Havdalah means to be separated from all negativity. And then Hamtaka, to sweeten the matzah, sweeten the din. Every word of the Shemona Esrei, it's all midas hadin. Understand this. Understand this very carefully. Hashem used the aleph beis to create the world. Remember, we said the Torah was created before the world was created. The Torah has the aleph beis in it. The aleph beis is not just an alphabet. Every letter of the aleph beis has specific kinds of energies. And when we say words with the aleph beis, we activate those energies. Those energies are midas hadin. They were used to create the world. But we want to sweeten the aspect of the din. We want the words that we say should sweeten the matzah of the din, and we have that kavanah, then it can happen.
How?
Just by the kavanah. Well, I will see it inside. We'll see it inside in more detail. But just have the kavanah. Before you start davening every single day, before you start that, this I ask you, to have this in mind. I don't know how to do it exactly. You say to yourself, I don't know all the details, but I know at least what I want in general to happen. And you think, I want, first of all, that there should be a feeling of hachna, of humility. I also want, through the words, there should be a havdalah. I want to separate myself from all negativity. Anything which have to do with evil. I want to separate from that. And the third thing is hamtaka. I want to sweeten the din, sweeten the matzah of the difficulties that are going on in the world. Not only in Eretz Yisrael, but in the entire world. The entire world, it's going on in the entire world. We have no idea. We have no idea. You know what's... I want to tell you one thing. Somebody was in a pharmacy here in Eretz Yisrael. A boy walks in the pharmacy, 14-year-old boy. 14-year-old boy in the pharmacy here in Eretz Yisrael. He asked the pharmacist without any busha, without no shame whatsoever, where do you have birth control or contraceptives? A 14-year-old boy. This is what they're teaching them. This is what they're learning. 14-year-old boy. He wants to know where are contraceptives, where are birth control materials. That's going on in the youth today. Do we have to sweeten the din? Do we have work to do to sweeten the din? We have a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. These boys, these children, they're not guilty. They don't know any better. They don't know any better. But we have to somehow, with our tefillos are very, very powerful. They can affect change. But you have to be stubborn, you have to be consistent, and don't think, oh, my tefillah, what's my tefillah? Chalila v'chas. Never supposed to say that. Your tefillah can make changes. It has effects. It's very, very important. And therefore, at least these three things, these three ideas, a person should have his mind before he starts davening, especially before Shemona Esrei. I want to have experience of hachna, humility before God. Hachna. I want to be separate from all negativity, from all evil. Havdalah. Separate. And the last thing is the most important. I want to be able to do hamtaka. I want to sweeten the situation. Sweeten the matzah of din. Okay. Those are the three things to have in mind all the time before we start davening. Now, how Hashem does it, that's not my business. And this is what I want to happen from my tefillah. I want to have hachna, I want to have havdalah, and I want to have hamtaka. You handle it, Hashem. That's it. And that's very important. Just that, let it go through your mind. Just let it go through your mind. That's all you need. It should go through your mind. If you say it, it's even better. I want to feel humility in front of you. I want to be separate. I want to have any connection to any evil, to have havdalah. And I also want hamtaka. I want my tefillos to have a sweetening of the din. Have those three things in mind before you start davening, especially before Shemona Esrei. And you'll see, if you keep it up, it'll become easier, and your tefillas will have a greater effect with time. The more you get used to it, the more we understand it, the more it'll make sense. So let's take a look at the sheet that we have in front of us. The first column on the right side, Pei Gimel. Pei Gimel. Bilikute Amarim Emre Pninim Himtik Inyan Zeh Veherech Bo Ma'od V'zeh L'shona Shamaiti Mimori B'inyan Tikunei Tfila Tzrichin Hachno'a Havdala Hamtaka Shetzorech La'asos B'chol Teva. You hear that, Rabbi Sai? All of these three ingredients that we said have to go into it, they have to be part of every word. Why every word? Because the entire Aleph Beis is made up of a midah of din. The Aleph Beis is used as a builder. It's din, and we want the din sweetened. So every word that I say should have all of these three elements. Because Safti Mokom Acher, Sheshamayti Mimayrai, Eich B'chol Os, Nichlalu, Kol Ha'osios. You hear this? In every letter is not just one letter by itself. Everything is interrelated to all the Aleph Beis. With the entire Aleph Beis, every letter is interrelated to all the other letters. Why? Ki shoresh kol ha'osios hu ois Aleph. Isn't that the Aleph, the first letter of the Aleph Beis? That is the root of all of the Aleph Beis. All of the other letters come out of that root. You hear that, Rabbi said? The Aleph is the Iker of all of the Aleph Beis. V'hu, after the brackets, V'hu karov la'achdus or ein sof. The Aleph is close to the infinite. Remember, Hashem used the Aleph Beis to create the world. What is the closest to Hashem of the Aleph Beis? It's the first letter. Karov ein sof. Therefore, it has all of the might, all of the power. It's all in the Aleph. The Aleph Beis expanded and now became an Os Beis. So an Os Beis is not just, it's a new letter. An Os Beis is two Alephs. And you go all the way down, Os Gimel is three Alephs. And Os Yud is 10 Alephs. And Os Tov, the last letter, is 400 Alephs. So you should know that the Aleph is the Iker of all of the Aleph Beis, and they all are Midas Hadin. All Midas Hadin. So the 400, or all the 22 letters of the Aleph Beis, Hulavushim v'kisuyim shenislabesh v'nistater or ein sof. You hear that? The or, the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the ein sof, that cannot be described, they are all internalized into and hidden inside the Aleph Beis. With that or of the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that inside the Aleph Beis, those letters have the koach now to create a world.
To create?
Create a world. Hashem created the world with the Aleph Beis. So you wouldn't believe that. You just open up a siddur and you go to school and they teach you Aleph Beis. There's an alphabet. They don't teach you this. That inside the Aleph Beis is the light and the power of the energy of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that He put into the Aleph Beis. They don't teach you that in schools. This is the Baal Shem Tov that I read, and he's teaching us the truth.
This is the book of Avraham.
What do you mean the book of Avraham? What do you mean the book of Avraham? What is that? I never heard of that phrase before. The book of
I
Avraham.
don't remember the name.
You mean Sefer Yetzirah? You mean?
Yes.
Sefer Yetzirah. Okay, there's a Sefer that Avraham Avinu that he learned with a Malach. What Torah did they have in those days? They didn't have in the Chamisha Chumshei Torah. So what Torah did Avraham Avinu learn? So there's a Sefer called Sefer Yetzirah that talks about the very, very early energies very early energies. And it's described, and it's so difficult to learn. It's written down in the Mefarshim on the Sefer Yetzirah, but it's very, very difficult. It talks about the spiritual energies that exist in the world before the physical. You have to realize there's so much going on in the universe, in the world, so much going on, which are far, far beyond our concerns. We're looking around, we see trees, we see buildings, we see people. We don't think about these things. But really beneath the surface, and what we don't see, is much more than what we do see. Just think about it for a moment. Just think about it for a moment. I remember I was in, where was I in? I was maybe in high school at that time. I think in high school I was. Maybe I was 16, 17 years old or whatever. I don't remember how old it was exactly, but they showed us a map of the universe. Shows a map of the universe. Now the universe has what we call, there are galaxies. Galaxies, we're inside a system called the Milky Way galaxy. The Milky Way galaxy, how many stars do you think are in the Milky Way galaxy? Millions of stars. Millions of stars in the Milky Way galaxy. And there are many other galaxies. Many. So that some artist tried to give us an idea, a little bit of an idea of what the universe looks like. So he made this tremendous spread of all of the stars in the universe, and he says to me, look at this map, find planet Earth. You couldn't even see it. You could not see it. Less than a speck of dust. Less than a speck of dust. Just think, I try to give a mashal for one moment. You think of the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean combined. It's a big ocean, the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean combined. Think about a half a teaspoon of water in the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. Could you find that half a teaspoon of water? If you drop it into the ocean, could you find a half a teaspoon of water? The Earth is less than a half a teaspoon of water in the universe. Less. So do we think we understand what's going on in the world? You think what you see here, this scare, this safer, the buildings, sky, ruin, you see we know what's going on in the world? There's so much going on, we have no conception at all. No conception of all what's going on. And the spiritual world is much greater than the physical world. All the trillions and trillions of stars are nothing compared to what's going on in the spiritual world. All we know is that half a teaspoon of water, Hashem says, that's where it all is. I'm putting all the concentration there. If you find that half a teaspoon of water, you know what to do with it? You can affect the entire ocean, both the Atlantic and the Pacific. This is the koach that he gave us. He gave us the Aleph base. The Aleph base has the koach. It could create. If we think the Aleph base has the power, has din, we don't want the negative side of the din. We want the sweet side of it. We want the positive effects of it. And we can direct it by our kavanas. This is beyond, way, way beyond our understanding. Why he gave to Am Yisrael this koach, that we can affect all the billions and billions and trillions of stars in the entire universe by our kavanas, by our words, by our deeds. It's like that little half a teaspoon of water can affect the entire Atlantic and Pacific Ocean together. That's what we have.
Yes, it happens too.
Go ahead. You're smarter than me. It's a bit stupid.
No.
I know nothing. Yeah.
These people, they say, they prove, they can move things with thought.
They move things with thought. It could be. Could be. It could be. We have no, I would say, I don't have anyway, how much power we have. We don't realize. We don't realize. The problem is that people don't cash in on it. They don't use it. People just sort of coast along. They coast along. As I was saying, I'm going to shul since I'm 4 years old. I'm going to Bate Knesset since I'm 4 years old. I see how people daven. There's no awareness at all. It's so superficial. It's so superficial. This is why he asked me, Rabbi Goldberg, what do you want to teach? I said, I want to teach about the Baal Shem Tov on tefillah. So have some appreciation of what tefillah is, what it can do, how to understand it, get into the depth of it. It's such a powerful tool. We don't realize what we have in our hands, but you have to use it. You have to put time into it. It takes time. I tell you that I'm not bragging in any way at all. When I used to daven like everybody else davens, the same way. But once I became aware, you know how long Shemona Esrei takes me? Shemona Esrei takes me at least 20 minutes in the morning, Shachus. Mincha and Ma'ariv, I'm a little bit less. It takes me 20. I finish Shemona Esrei when they're up to Aleinu. That's where I finish Shemona Esrei, when they're up to Aleinu. I said, I showed them in my mouth, they're saying Aleinu. Yeah.
It's a perfect story now.
Yeah.
It's a good sign. It's a good sign that at least it takes 20 minutes to go from Trilesa to Aleinu.
Yeah.
If you have exactly 10 people,
Yeah.
the Zan does not count, to be able to answer in the repetition. But anyone who was standing alone, taking his time, they're all wandering around.
Well, it's usually more than 10 people in the shul.
I hear it's a little,
Yeah.
you think it lately, but
But I just can't do it. Maybe I could do it in a few minutes, sure, but I understand a person has the opportunity to talk to the king. Who are you to talk to the king? Who are you? And he gives you an opportunity, opens the door for you. You're going to finish in 2-3 minutes? That's it for respect? You finish more than 2-3 minutes, I mean, I can't understand it. Why if a person doesn't realize you have opportunity to talk to Melech Malchei Malachim, the creator of the world. He wants to hear what you have to say. He's opening the door for you. You do it in 2-3 minutes and you mumble the words and you show him, finished.
Not always we get the feedback.
Feedback. So
I need you for a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Tiebreaker
yeah.
is one have to start Shemona Esrei with the minyan.
That's preferred. That's certainly one should try to start. But if you don't start with them, as long as they're davening Shemona Esrei and you join them, so you still get the schus of the tzibur. But it's better to start together.
What if you are half a minute up in advance because it goes slow?
So you should wait.
Yes?
You shouldn't start Shemona Esrei before that.
Not even 10 to 15 seconds before?
No. Wait to start together with everybody else. Then it's Tefillah B'tzibur. Otherwise, it's Tefillas Yachid. You're starting by yourself. It's Tefillas Yachid. Not Tefillah B'tzibur. There's a person in my minyan. He sits there with a stopwatch. Not timing me. He wants to know exactly when is I daven with the early minyan with the Netzach Chama, the sunrise. So he says the calendar on the wall is not exactly as it says here on my. So he won't start Shemona Esrei until his wife says it's now. It's sunrise.
Yekka.
He's not a yekka, but he's a person like that. I think he's making a big mistake. Big mistake. Why? Because it's much more important. I mean, the luach on the wall has also some kind of a system. They have their luach, the Tukachinsky luach, whatever luach they use when the sunrise is. So they're a half a minute off or less. It's much more important to do it together with a tzibur, to be part of a tzibur, than to do it on your own. Much more important. So I don't agree with him that he starts a half a minute later, a minute later. He waits until his watch says it's exactly, now it's sunrise, now's the time. I start with everybody else, I mean, that's much important to be everyone. We have to have that achdus. We have to be together. Not everyone's going to do his an individual thing. Very, very important that we always do things together. That achdus is one of the biggest principles that can save Klal Yisrael when we have achdus. Problem is, why we have one of the big problems that we're having now in Eretz Yisrael is because that's lacking. There's so much fighting going on from over right and the left and progressive and terrible. The whole world is right on wheels. The whole world is on wheels now. It's
Now, here's another tiebreaker for you.
yeah.
Putting all the pressure on you to get to daven and begin the Shmones with everyone.
Mhm.
Can you edit as you go along the prayers?
Yes.
Okay.
Edit?
You could skip. In other words, you have to skip. Yeah.
But I mean, I have expert advice
Like
on
about 5
exactly
minutes
what
before.
Yeah. If you have to skip, you could skip. Certain things you have to, basic things you have to make sure you say, but there are in between things and part of the house. Yeah, Psutra the Zimra, what things you can skip.
And you can do when you're talking about Korbanot, you can do that afterwards too. Perhaps.
You could, but all right, maybe, yeah.
Do it before you go.
Or before, yeah. I mean, if you have things that you want to do beforehand, you come earlier, or you do it at home. That's all.
Okay. Thank
In
you.
Yankees,
Hmm?
there's a Yankees show in my neighborhood. The people in the neighborhood call it Goat Hill Chick Chuck. I went there when I first made LAI. I used to go there. And this is crazy. I can't, even if I tell them in English, I couldn't keep up.
Rabbi,
So,
I know
You need a good rabbi in the shul to give a people appreciation of what tefillah is.
yeah.
It's very, very important. Very important.
a rabbi, a young rabbi. He's a very crucial rabbi. To talk once, I davened Shmones very fast because I didn't want to be disturbed.
Yeah. Okay.
He's no finger swiping.
I mean, what can I tell you? I mean, he means well.
Yes,
He means well, but what kind of Shemona Esrei is it?
I don't know.
Davening very fast, so he shouldn't be distracted. All right, so that's what he does. He does. He's not asking me an eitzah. All right, so again,
The tough for 100 times.
yeah, tough. The last letter of the Aleph Beis is not just the last letter of the Aleph Beis. It means that it has the furthest away from the Aleph. The Aleph has all the kedusha, all the energy in the Aleph, and the Taf is the furthest away. It has the least amount. Now we have to understand something. You have to understand something. When you're awake, you don't have to wash your hands all the time. When you wake up in the morning after you're sleeping at night, you have to wash your hands. Until you die alternately to take off the tumah. Why do you have to wash only your hands, your fingers? Why don't you have to wash your whole body? Why not? Why don't you have to wash your whole body?
Oh, these two.
So, but why don't I have to go? Why shouldn't I have to take a shower? Take 3 times a shower, or go into a mikveh 3 times? Why only my hands do I have to wash? My fingers? Why? The answer is because when a person is awake, his moach and his heart are functioning. There's a strong kedusha, and the tumah cannot attach itself. It runs away. We have an automatic innate kedusha in us. When we're awake, that keeps the tumah away from us. And therefore, we have no problem during the day. We don't have to wash our hands all the time. Only come out of the bathroom, whatever it is. But normally, you don't. However, when you're asleep and your mind and heart are not functioning, they're at rest, then the tumah comes onto the body because there's a sort of a vacuum. Because the mind and heart are asleep, there's a vacuum there, and it is replaced by the tumah. So now I wake up in the morning, and I'm now functioning again, so the tumah runs away. Because he's afraid of my heart and my mind. They're too powerful. But he doesn't run away altogether. He hangs out on the fringes. On the fringes of my fingers, he's still there. and therefore I need the water alternately to take off the tumah from my hands. So what do you see from that? Where the fringes of the kedusha are, the tumah can still attach itself. Therefore, the aleph and the taf. The aleph has the maximum amount of kedusha. The taf has the least amount, and that's where, at the end of the aleph base, where you can have all kinds of negative influences, because it's the end, it's the fringes. The fringes. Derech Agav, I'll mention to you, Derech Agav, the Ben Ish Chai, Rabbi Yosef Chaim Ben Attar from Baghdad, asked a very important question.
The feet.
Yes. Did I say this before here? He asks, what does it help to take the water, wash your fingers of your hands? Your feet also have tumah. So you should wash your feet also. Why don't you have to wash your feet? Alternately 3 times each. You know what his answer is? He says, there's a much greater amount of tumah on the feet than there is on the hands, and the water alternately will not be powerful enough to remove that tumah from the feet.
The Muslims do.
Huh?
The Muslims do.
I don't think so.
No, the Muslims do.
What was?
The Muslim.
What's the Muslims?
Yes.
All right.
They clean their feet.
So wait a second. So what is the eitzah? In other words, every person who doesn't, the average person who washes his hands in the morning, still has tumah attached to him by his feet, the toes of his feet, has the tumah attached to him. So what's the eitzah? Very simple eitzah. Go to the mikveh. The person goes to the mikveh in the morning. That's more powerful than just ultimately washing the hand. That takes off the tumah from the feet too. But a person doesn't want to go to the mikveh. What can he do? Very simple. Go into the shower, turn on the shower, stand underneath the shower for 4 or 5 minutes, letting the water come all the time without stopping, a steady flow of water. That's called tisha kavin of water. The tisha kavin of water is a substitute for the mikveh.
Is it a substitute for the...
It's stronger than that.
It's stronger.
It's stronger than
So
that.
if you do the shower, you don't, for 4 or 5 minutes, you don't have to make...
No, I don't think
You
so.
make the broth.
Well, al Hadarim, you have to make al Hadarim, so I guess you could do it afterwards also. You don't, but then it's not al Hadarim anymore. If you make it al Hadarim, and to take it off from your feet, the rest of the body, you stand under the shower. But you have to stand under the shower for 4 or 5 minutes and not stop the water. It has to constantly flow. In the Chevra Kadisha, also they do the same thing. In Chevra Kadisha, they retire the mace.
Who's doing it?
Retire the mace. So how did you do it? They put it into a mikveh, right? You had a mikveh?
In Milano, not every... No.
Well, okay, some places have a...
We used to...
Oh, Tisha Kavin. So some places have a mikveh. The Chevra Kadisha, the better ones or the more expensive ones, they have a mikveh. They take the mace into the mikveh, pull them out, dry them up, and they put on his takrika to that. But if they don't have a mikveh, you have Tisha Kavin. You have a bunch of jugs of water, and a few people doing it, and the water keeps flowing until your amount. That's what he did in Milano. Tisha Kavin of water. It's the same thing as having the shower flow of you over it. They could do
In the hospital, we don't have mikvahs, and most of the medicine are in the hospitals, some are at home, so there is no possibility for the mikvah.
All right, but that's the idea anyway. So we have to. So we try to remove the tumah from it. We just Agav got into that. So why do I bring that up? How did it come up here? Because we said the taf is the furthest away from the aleph. The aleph has the maximum amount of kedusha. The taf has the least amount of kedusha, but it has kedusha. But that taf at the end is where the tumah can attach itself, and therefore we have to have hamtokas hadin. We have to do everything to hamtokas hadin, and we can do that with our kavanos. We want our tefillah. We are directing with our thoughts. As you said, that people say that they can move things with their thoughts. It's possible. If you know how to do it, if you train yourself, maybe if your thoughts can move things also, it's possible too. So your thoughts can certainly have an effect on the words that you say to be mamtik the din. Mamtik the din. Okay, let's take a look back at where we're up to now and the inside. We're not going to finish it today, obviously. Now we'll continue Mitzvah Hashem next week, but let's see what we can do. Okay.
Kisuin.
Yeah. V'nistata or Ein Sof ba'arba meos levushim kisuyim. V'os tof hu ha'acharon. V'rochok min ha'matzil. Become a kisuyim. Become a levushim. Become a hastaros. In other words, it's one covering over another covering. The aleph is on the inside. It's on the very inside. That's the source. That's where all the kedusha is. But now you have all of these covers on top of it until you can finally get to the tuf, which is the last one. That's another way of explaining that the kochas of Tumah can attach themselves to the many, many coverings of the olive bays. And that's the last covering of the olive bays is a tuf. V'hatzadik shiyodeya she'alufi shel olam b'chol tnua u'b'chol atar. A tzaddik, we're all tzaddikim. We know that Hashem is every place, He's in every movement, He's in every centimeter of the world. V'les asar panaminei mamish. Hashem's existence is constant. Azai husar halavush. That awareness removes the coverings. You hear that? The awareness of the presence of Hashem takes away the coverings. It was the entire world is there to trick a person, to hide Hashem's presence, to distract you. That's what the whole world is. All the physical world is to distract you from the knowledge that really what's in the presence of what we are in, Hashem is all over. He's inside this table. He's inside the book. He's inside the paper. Hashem is all over. All these things are to distract us. We look at paper as paper. A book is a book, a table is a table. A rock is a rock. We don't realize that it's all Hashem with just a kisui and another kisui and another kisui, another kisui. That's all it is. It's all Hashem. Once you have that awareness, it's all removed. It's all removed. You're getting, by your awareness, but you're attaching yourself to the essence in between that removes all the kisuyim, removes all of the layers. Azai husar halavush. Umale kol hanashamos adrom hamalos alufa shel olam. And with your words, you now have ability to elevate everything to alufa shel olam, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ubezeh niskaptzu kol ha'avanim lemokom echad achtus or ein sof. This is the trick. This is the trick, to have the awareness. To have the awareness. I want to just ask you one question. We are familiar of the two words, Ava and Yira. There's a mitzvah of Avas Hashem and a mitzvah of Yiras Hashem. So how would we normally understand that Avas Hashem means to love God? Yiras Hashem, to have a fear, to have a feel of awesomeness. Let's call it that way. Yiras Haromamus. But you know what the real meaning of Yira is? This I just came to recently. The real meaning of Yira means that awareness. That is what makes it awesome. It's the awareness of Hashem's continuous and constant presence in everything. There is no place, there is no thing in the world that is absent from Hashem's presence. If Hashem was not inside this paper would disintegrate in an instant. The koach of Hashem is inside this paper. It's part of the creation. If Hashem would take himself out of it, the paper would cease to exist. That is the Yira. That's true Yira. That is awesome. That's the true Yira. That's what a person has to have. That awareness, the constant awareness. There's no such thing as anything in the world exists. Air has Hashem in it too. Everything. There's no such thing as Hashem not being there. It's got to be there all the time. That's what it is. That is the true meaning of Yira. It doesn't mean to be afraid you're going to get a patch if I do an Avela. That's childish, even though it's true. But that's not the real meaning of Yira. The real meaning of Yira is that awesomeness, that awareness that Hashem occupies everything. Everything. That you have to have all the time. A person is required. It's a mitzvah say. It's a Shem Elokecha Tiro. You have to have that awareness of Hashem, and therefore you should serve Hashem. He's giving you the ability to live, to walk, to speak, everything. You're getting it from Him, out of Ava and out of Yira, out of both.
How would you define in Hebrew awareness in one word?
Today we say to lahakir, to recognize.
Because we say, Reshit Chochmah Yirat Hashem.
Huh?
Reshit Chochmah
Yirat
Yirat
Hashem.
Hashem.
That's right. That's
You
true.
would say Reshit Chochmah
Hakarat Hashem.
Yirat Hashem.
You could say it. So,
Well, there is a difference.
yeah, but all right. It's very close. It's very close. I'm trying to think of another word, but that's all right. So this is what our team is all about, Rabbi Sai. We have to understand that. It's very, very important. Very important. If we just would accomplish just this point alone, just this knowledge alone, all of us just sitting here, we have this knowledge alone and become a constant awareness to us, it would be worth all the shiurim. Just this alone, you have no idea how important it is, how fundamental it is. To always have that awareness in everything. There is no such thing, it's not possible. There's no such thing, nothing in the existence can exist without Hashem being on the inside, powering it, making it, giving it life. Because that's what it is. What is real? What is life? What is the essence of anything? The essence of anything is the existence of Hashem. That's what it all is. If we have that in our mind, so we accomplished a tremendous amount. And you have a mitzvah gedola if you can share it with other people. A mitzvah gedola ma'od. Try to give it over to others. It's so important. It's so lacking. It's so lacking. People do not know. They don't know. It's not their fault. They were never taught. I also didn't know. All the years I was in yeshiva all my life. I never knew all these things until I started learning the Baal Shem Tov. I never knew all these things. Baruch Hashem, I came to Israel and I met the right people and I started to learn all these things. It's already over. I'm here over Israel over 50 years. Baruch Hashem. I had good rebellion. So now I'm on the right path. I'm on the right path. But you have a mitzvah to teach it to others. Don't keep it for yourself. All right, we'll continue with Hashem next week.
Thank you.